Today I'm showing you the best augments, weapons, and strategies for taking on the Z-Rex in Shattered Vale. And we're gonna do it all without any Gobblegums, kill streaks, or exploits. First things first, let's talk about our loadout. By far the best field upgrade has to be Ether Shroud. Oftentimes this boss fight you can get overwhelmed with toxic zombies, with those toxic pools of acid that damage you, and the Z-Rex itself. Having the ability to escape all of that is amazing, and Ether Shroud is the go-to. Next up, I know we said no kill streaks, however, if you don't know by now, using the chopper gunner can take out basically a quarter of the Z-Rex's health in one go. It's not exactly a quarter, but it's really good, especially if you're still struggling with this boss fight. Now, in terms of weapons, here is where we start branching out. If you're playing solo and you just love the Ray Gun Mark II, then the blue SMG variant is going to do you wonders. However, you might not be playing solo, you might not have access to the ray gun, or you might want to just use a regular gun. And so for that, I have heard and seen that the AMR4 sniper rifle is fantastic for this. However, I also know that not a lot of us like the sniper rifles in zombies, despite the fact that they're really good in Black Ops 6. And so I will be covering a strategy to use a regular assault rifle or SMG in this video. Now let's start talking about augments because we have a lot of things to consider. Let's start easy and talk about double tap. If you're using the Ray Gun Mark II, then most of the augments don't work with wonder weapons, so you are definitely going to want to have double time. Double time significantly increases the rate of fire, especially on that SMG variant of the Mark II, and it's really fun. Unfortunately, things like double or nothing, double impact, and double standard just don't affect the Ray Gun Mark II. However, if you're running a standard bullet weapon, then I'm going to highly recommend double standard. Double standard doubles your regular damage for non-critical kills. When you're killing regular zombies, that's not really useful. However, with the Z-Rex, I found myself hitting the Z-Rex with non-critical shots a whole heck of a lot. And as you can see in the gameplay behind you with the AMAX, I was dealing like 1,000 damage with body shots and 1,100 damage with critical shots. So I was basically dealing normal critical shots with regular body shots. It's really powerful. On top of that, you could go double time with the increased rate of fire. However, double or nothing also works against the Z-Rex. So if you want a 15% chance to double that 1,000 damage to 2,000 damage, you can certainly do so. With any one of those setups, you cannot go wrong. Double impact is nice, especially if you do land a lot of critical shots, but I found double standard to be way more consistent for the boss fight. And those were all of our offensive capabilities. However, this boss is more so about your defensive capabilities. In my experience, there are two main ways that this boss can take you out quickly. First and foremost, it's the later half of the boss fight where the Z-Rex is enraged and he will chomp at you and easily just stun lock you into your dying wish and eventually going down. Secondly, the toxic pools around the map deal great damage and, more importantly, prevent you from healing. And so getting away from the Z-Rex and getting through those toxic pools is really important, and for that we are going to be running PhD's Tribologist augment. This will increase our slide distance so we can slide through those toxic pools and get far away from the Z-Rex. However, this might also come down to personal playstyle because I have found that the Environmentalist minor augment of PhD defends you against the toxic pools if you are sliding. Now, because these toxic pools are a little bit RNG every game, you might want to consider running Environmentalist. Being able to slide through those toxic pools without taking any damage is really nice. It takes a lot of pressure off of you, and if you are injured, then sliding through those toxic pools, and make sure you're sliding because if you just walk through it, it doesn't count, but sliding through it won't make you take any damage, therefore it won't reset your healing, and it's actually really nice. However, you do lose a lot of speed and distance away from the Z-Rex with this strategy, especially in those later two rounds with the Z-Rex right behind you. This might not be the combination you're looking for. However, there is a workaround that I quite like whether or not I'm running Environmentalist or not, and that's going to be the minor augment of stamina called Hot Foot. Hot Foot gives you a speed boost after your equipment kills an enemy, and so what I like to do is whenever I know the Z-Rex is right behind me, I'll throw down a Molotov, and allowing that to kill enemies will get me a speed boost where I can slide and run way fast away from the Z-Rex. The speed boost itself is phenomenal, and I would highly recommend this no matter what you choose. However, if there are no zombies nearby, if you are running out of equipment and you still have the Z-Rex behind you, then this augment is kind of useless. So between Environmentalist and Tribologist, it's whatever you find yourself struggling with the most. If you find yourself getting eaten by the Z-Rex, you might want Tribologist. If you find yourself taking a whole bunch of damage from the toxic zombies, then you might want to try Environmentalist. And while we're talking about these stamina augments, you need to put on the major augment that allows you or prevents you from taking fall damage. There are a couple attacks by the Z Z-Rex that will launch you into the sky, and just having that extra bit of security of not taking any fall damage is fantastic. But there is one major augment that you beautiful people told me about, and I didn't believe you, but this is absolutely game changing. That's gonna be the major Juggernaut augment Turtle Shell. I know, it sounds crazy, especially because those toxic zombies deal so much damage when you have Turtle Shell, but if you have Turtle Shell and the Z-Rex is doing his chomping attacks behind you, you don't take any damage. Personally, that Z-Rex chomping attack he had was the most frustrating thing about this fight, and Turtle Shell completely eliminates that threat so long as you're paying attention and you put the Z-Rex behind you. It does take a little bit of skill to understand. You need to be patient, you need to turn around when any zombies are around you, but it's a lot more forgiving than you think. And in terms of the best minor augment to pair with that, beautiful people who watch my Juggernaut augment review know that hardened plates don't actually do anything with Turtle Shell. They grant more damage mitigation, but you already have 100% damage mitigation, so while running Turtle Shell, you're gonna want to run durable plates, which is extra awesome because plates I found in this boss fight are pretty hard to come by. Durable plates make your plates more durable, so you can take more damage from behind. It's really good. And so I think it's time I put my money where my mouth is. Let's show you how I defeat the Z-Rex every single time. All right, getting into it, we are using the AMAX assault rifle. As I said earlier, the SMG variant of the Ray Gun Mark II is gonna do a good amount of damage, especially when you have those toxic zombie that he eats. You can see them sticking out of his chest right there. Once he eats them, we can go ahead and, well, he spits them back out too, but if they're in there, if they're sticking out, you can shoot them for bonus damage. You can see right there, oop, there's 24,000 damage. It does really good damage, and there's another one. And as I said earlier, generally speaking, this boss fight is more of a skill rather than a strategy type of boss fight. And again, I'm going to be using the AMAX as much as I can. If you're playing solo, you might just want to use the Ray Gun Mark II SMG, but if you're playing co-op, then any sort of assault rifle will be good, but I am using double or nothing and double standard. This is making it so that wherever I shoot the Z-Rex, you can see I'm dealing 1,000 damage, and the critical shots, as if you pay attention, they're about 1,100 or 1,100 damage, so this is actually one of my favorite setups. And now that we're at a quarter, there are 4 phases to this Z-Rex. We're almost done with the first one. These first 2 are really easy. I doubt you guys are having a whole bunch of trouble with these first ones. Once we're done with the first one, he'll jump up there. You get a little bit of a time to shoot him to deal a little bit of extra damage. But now we have a little bit of an in-between rounds where we just need to deal with regular zombies, just like all of the other bosses. I will recommend that you have some cash, some points to buy ammo, because there are no max ammos in here. However, zombies pretty frequently drop ammo, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's something to pay attention to. Speaking more specifically in terms of strategy, we are using Turtle Shell as well as the Tribologist PhD augment, and with this setup, I always try to go on the outside here and then get some distance between me and the Z-Rex and shoot him, which is really easy to do in these first 2 phases. So you slide away. I like to turn around on that second slide, and then here we are. He's eating a lot of zombies, which is good. I don't even think they need to be toxic zombies for him to eat, for him to have those special weaknesses, which is awesome. And you'll notice I'm a little low on ammo. He's doing his little spit attack, but we should be he's almost halfway, which is good. But again, this is probably the easiest part of the boss fight. You're just dealing damage. Anytime he gets about that close, that's when I like to start thinking about leaving out of the area. And of course, when dealing with the toxic pools, oh, okay, so here he is. That's the second wave. He's getting enraged now, and he's gonna jump back up there, and then we get a little bit more damage. You can see we did quite a bit of damage from that halfway mark. That's pretty good. Because I have the points, I am gonna refill my ammo just for safety. But in terms of PhD sliding, this is pretty important. Whenever you're approaching one of these pools, try to slide before you get there, because if you start in here, it'll stop you from sprinting, which is by far, in my opinion, one of the most frustrating things about this boss fight. These acid pools are random, and so just whenever you're about to like map out a pathway, and if you can avoid them, that'd be great. However, I have noticed that sometimes, oh, here's a good example of the Z-Rex right behind me. And thanks to Turtle Shell, it doesn't even matter. That was, I think, the closest I've ever been to the Z-Rex without him injuring me. That's crazy, but that's just the power of Turtle Shell. When I first got this boss fight, I was really nervous about these toxic pools and running around them was really effective, but I'm sure you guys have had the experience of that Z-Rex being right behind you and just gnawing at you and chomping at you and then cutting you off like he is right here. And just like that, that would be where he's chomping at me. That's a great example. And luckily, look at this. We're just invincible. Well, I mean, we're not invincible. If we turn around, we're a one-shot. But if he's still on you, like he is on me, just turn around, just like that. And that was actually a really good example. Now, obviously, I would recommend not getting hit. However, if he is right behind you, you have a couple different options, especially when you're stuck in one of those acid pools. I would recommend once he flings you, try to get towards a wall and do exactly what we did and just turn around. So just like this, then we turn around, and then he might hit you up with this tail, but thanks to that stamina augment, that should be okay. And so now we're way far away from here, but now I want to show you a little bit of the magical, mystical, wonderful augment of Hot Foot, something that I have been sleeping on. I'm going to throw down a Molotov there. Look at how fast we're going. Look at how fast we're going. That is insanely fast. So that Hot Foot, when you kill zombies with your equipment, just like so, you get a huge speed boost, which is why if you're running Environmentalist, throwing down Molotovs, decoys, and having that speed boost is really, really beneficial, because now you can get your distance away from the Z-Rex and you can turn around and take shots at him. Now I'm taking my time here because I'm trying to demonstrate for you, but I really should be aiming on him a lot more often than I am. So I'll slide through the two acid pools that I know are over here. I'm hearing him growl and roar, so I'm gonna take advantage of the damage there. Looks like we're almost done with that third phase. Even though I really tried to make Environmentalist work through these acid pools or toxic pools, I just found that the Z-Rex was just too close to me too often, which is why Tribologist with this distance, like he just jumped at me and we're already on the opposite edge of the boss fight arena right there. So I really like Tribologist, but I always want to try to experiment with the other augments of PhD. But if you find yourself really struggling with these acid toxic pools, maybe try switching augments. Richtofen over here usually drops you armor, I think, if you're low on it. He'll drop you a self-revive if you don't have one too, I think. The only thing I do need to mention is, as you saw just there, if we're low on health and we're sliding through these toxic pools, it will prevent us from healing. It'll reset because we're taking damage. It'll reset our health regeneration, which is not good. However, if you've made it this far, congratulations, because you're on the fourth and final phase of this guy, which is the hardest one because he is the most aggressive. So again, I'm just mapping out this outside, trying to see where the toxic pools are. I do also have the Vulture Aid augment where I get a lot of my, or Picky Eater, I think, where I get my Molotovs and decoys back. So that's pretty important because sometimes I'll throw decoys to distract the zombies, so that way I can get some shots on the actual Z-Rex. But now I think the Z-Rex is a little too close. I'll throw down my Molotov. I will run out of the way. There's our speed boost right there. Look at that, going all fast. Now you do got to be careful. Look at that. We're all the way. I'll throw a decoy out. Oh, he gained up some speed. Look at that. All right. And as always, I forgot to mention, if you are getting eaten by the Z-Rex and if you're nervous, please use Ether Shroud. That is by far the most consistent way of saving yourself here. And if you're on phase 4 of this, if you've done a little bit of damage, go ahead and use a chopper gunner, because that is going to deal a lot of good damage. And it's going to basically take care of an entire phase. But as you can see, with patience and with good training, Turtle Shell really, I cannot overestimate how good that augment is. I mean, you saw it earlier when he was just chomping at us. That was by far the biggest thing that would get me down here. And so Turtle Shell, thanks to you beautiful people for suggesting it. Oh my goodness, we just did it. Thank you to you beautiful people for suggesting it. It's a game changer. You see, not even a sweat. We took our time having that Turtle Shell Tribologist, picking up Molotovs, doing that with the Hot Foot. I wish there was more of a strategy. I wish there was a more, if you do this every single time, it's going to work. Obviously, Gobblegums, Chopper Gunners, they're going to help you out, but this really is like Citadel, where it's just about your skill and your decision making and reacting to what's going on, keeping your back to the Z-Rex, getting your distance with that Tribologist, going through, making sure you're sliding through the toxic pools and you're not getting stuck by the toxic pools, weaving in and around of the rocks like we were doing. And something I forgot to mention in the heat of the moment, as you saw, notice how I was never shooting at the Z-Rex when it was too close. During this boss fight, especially if you haven't passed it yet, you're stressed out, you just want to deal as much damage as fast as possible, but you need to have patience. If the boss gets anywhere close to you, just turn around and run, especially with Turtle Shell. That is how you're going to stay alive. It's okay to take your time, have some patience, and only deal damage when he's far away. Also, if you are playing on co-op, just pay attention to who the Z-Rex is targeting. The other members can survive and deal damage to the Z-Rex while it's targeting the other player, and the other player, all you need to do is, well, survive and run away. This can be a very tough and unforgiving boss fight, but hopefully this setup helped you finally complete it. Let me know if it did in the comment section below, and people who have completed it, write down your best tips and tricks for this boss fight. And if you want to know everything that you didn't know about Shattered Veil, be sure to check out this video and stay beautiful.